Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Lynx training on your Clevertouch displays. My name is Stephanie Robinson, and I am the Texas Territory Manager with Clevertouch. I'm located in the Austin area. It's warming up outside, but we're waiting for the sunshine to come out, so I think we'll be there probably by this afternoon. I wanted to introduce Gareth Middleton, who is our product specialist for education. He's located in the UK. I've heard rumors that he might be distantly related to Kate. So Gareth is a former teacher, and so he speaks the language of teachers. He understands how to use the software to create lessons and engage students. And so that's why we wanted to bring him into this session and allow him to show us everything that is available to you as far as features using the Lynx Whiteboard. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Gareth.
All right, hi, welcome everybody. I'll start to share my screen so you don't have to keep looking at me for too long. Okay, here we go. Right, so you should be able to now hopefully see my browser that I've just joined. Yeah, so I was a primary school teacher for 24 years until I joined Clevertouch a year and a half ago. And over here, schools will often use Smart Notebook or PowerPoint or Active Inspire. They're the names of three programs teachers use quite a lot. But I can honestly say that Lynx Whiteboard is much the easier program to use, and it's just a great tool for making not only presentations, but your Clevertouch screen into interactive slides as well, you know, activities that the children can come and interact with, you know, so it's not just a presentation tool in my opinion. So hopefully everything I'll show you will give you some great ideas and take you on a tour around all of the features. And please call out at any point. I won't be able to see you now while I'm sharing, but please call out if you have any questions at any time. So I've started off on my browser because, as Stephanie said, Lynx Whiteboard is totally free to for anybody to download. In fact, even if you don't have a Clevertouch screen at the moment. So if you are on a Windows device or a MacBook, you can go to lynxcloud.app, where you can download Lynx Whiteboard, or you can download Lynx Launcher, which is like a platform that will kind of oversee all of your Lynx apps. There's also Lynx 6, which is our older presentation software, but it is still really good and it can work in tandem with Lynx Whiteboard. At the very end, I'll pop into Lynx 6 just to show you a couple of examples of that. And there's also the Lynx screen recorder that you can download on Windows and MacBooks too. And here it is here, I've activated it, ready to go. And it can basically record whatever you're doing on your device, even if you're not in Lynx. So if I put my microphone on and hit the record button there, then it will start to take a recording of everything that I'm doing on my device. Okay, so that's recording away in the corner there while I'm talking. I'll turn that off in a bit. When you come on to download from a browser like this, you can also create your account. So you basically just sign in with an email address, and that will give you access to the Lynx cloud. So as well as all the downloads here, you can go into the cloud drives, and I've got my Lynx cloud. Now what this allows me to do is to create files on almost any device and save them to the Lynx cloud so that I can then open them up on any other device that I've got Lynx Whiteboard on. So as well as obviously coming in here at the lynxcloud.app, you can search on your device, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, or an Android tablet, or an Android phone, and you can search for Lynx Whiteboard in the app stores and download it onto those devices too. And then if you've created an account, you can sign in with your email address and you'll have access to your Lynx cloud. Not only that though, but you can also sign in to Google Drive and OneDrive as well, and Dropbox if you have accounts with those. And it's like a little back door into those accounts. So I don't have a Dropbox account, so you can see here it's inviting me to link a Dropbox account in, and basically Lynx Whiteboard will then ask Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive for permission to open that back door into all of your files. So more on that later on. Another great feature of this Lynx Cloud area, this browser area, is that you can create groups. So if I go into manage groups, you access it by clicking on your account name. So if I go into manage groups here, I can add a new group, and basically these groups are just a list of emails. There we go. So that's some of the other members of my team. So basically when you've created a group, it means that back in your cloud, from the Lynx cloud anyway, you'd be able to send files out. So if I go to my demo here and click on an item, I could decide that I want to share it. And I can do that either via a QR code. So with that QR code now, people can select that and decide that they want to scan it, or I can share it in various ways. So I can share it via an email address or via the group that I've created as well. So it's a nice quick way of being able to send content out. And the reason why I thought I'd show you that first is because one option with Lynx Whiteboard at the moment is that, as well as creating accounts for all of your staff, you could encourage your students to create Lynx Whiteboard accounts and download it onto their preferred device. And that way you've got a platform for sending out content, and they've got a way of opening that content and having a fully interactive whiteboard, you know, to make annotations on whatever you've sent to them. So the interactive touch screen that you've got at the front of the classroom, they can kind of replicate that on their device within Lynx Whiteboard. So let's go to Lynx Whiteboard, the app now. So I don't want to send that, so I'm going to jump here. So here I am in Lynx Whiteboard. When you first log into Lynx Whiteboard, you actually come to this page here, where it's inviting you to create a totally new file. So there's a default setting, you can pick a color background, and then you just hit create. So there we are, I'm into my document already, and then you're into Lynx Whiteboard properly. This is how it will appear on the screen. So if I just jump back to my document here. So as it says, and I've mentioned before, the app is available for Apple devices, Android, Chromebooks, Clevertouch screens. So if you've got a Clevertouch screen with the Clever Store, you can download Lynx Whiteboard directly onto your board, sign into your Lynx cloud, and that way any content you create anywhere else, you can then access it directly in the Clevertouch screen with no device connected to the Clevertouch screen at all. Windows, Mac devices as well. And this whole document that I'm going to show you now, I actually created on my Galaxy S10 phone. What I really like about Lynx Whiteboard is that idea that you at the weekends could be taking your children, for example, to a sporting event. Maybe they're playing in Little League. I know that's big over in the States. And while you're watching them, you could have your phone open, start to create some of your presentations. When you get home, tinker with them for a few minutes on your laptop, because you can access it from your Lynx cloud, and it's done, saved, ready for you to open directly in the board. It says here, open almost any file from the Lynx cloud. So to do that, I'm going to go home. So as well as creating new files, I can also open up files from my device. So I could go to my documents and I could look for Lynx files. So I can go into my folders here. So I've got various files that I can open there. I've got my Google Drive here, OneDrive, and the Lynx cloud here. And I'm signed in as well. Now, if I go to this G Suite folder here, these documents are actually G Suite documents that normally you can only open in a browser. But if I try this one and open it up, this is going to convert this Google Docs file into a Lynx file. And whenever it does this, it basically will open up these online documents in the background of Lynx Whiteboard. So they're in a kind of a PDF format. So I can't make direct changes to the document. So here we go. So this is the beginning of a short story that I might be planning to do with some children. I can get that onto the screen there. And I'll be able to sort of highlight things and annotate on there with the pen tools that I've got down here. But when I activate, let's see, if I activate my eraser tool, you'll see that I can erase anything I've added to the presentation, but it won't affect the document that is in the background. So it's great that you basically can open up almost any document within Lynx Whiteboard. So it's a great platform for being able to send all sorts of content out to students or to other members of staff, and have this kind of whiteboard platform that you can you know, annotate on. So back to my original document here. When it says open almost any file, I've done some rigorous testing of this, and at the moment Apple devices won't open anything beyond Lynx Whiteboard files themselves. So one way around that is, if you do want to access some of your files on an Apple device, just open them up somewhere else first within Lynx Whiteboard, and then save them as a Lynx Whiteboard file, and then you will be able to open them back up on your Apple device. Anyway, it is perfect for presenting and annotating, and you can share content to groups via email and QR codes, as I've mentioned already. Okay, let's pop on to the next slide. Now, when you first come into Lynx Whiteboard, you want to set up a couple of things. So if we go to the settings, we can organize some fonts and we can create some shortcuts to folders. So I'll show you that now. So I'm going to go to the settings area in the options. So starting off at the top, there's just like a little general area where you can set the language. The fonts then are default fonts that you can have for your text boxes. And there are 3 that you can set. So I've got style 1, style 2, style 3. Now, if you want to change those at all, so if I want to change this, I can basically click in here, choose a totally different font. I can decide what is the default size when it first appears on the screen as well. And do I want it to be italic, underlined, bold, whatever, I can choose that there, and the color of it as well. Now, the other nice thing is that the new version of Lynx has got this recognition tab. Now, this is for if I'm using the pen that will turn your handwriting into a font. So you can pick which font it will turn your handwriting into, and I'll show you more of that later on. So it's really worth coming in here and setting your 4 default fonts. In pens and tools, this is where you can check that you're using your Lynx Whiteboard app with the correct size screen. So if I click in there, there's all sorts of different screens and I can choose the right one. You can also enable palm arrays for your Clevertouch screen as well. Because I'm doing this all on my laptop, I don't need to worry too much about that. And where it says enable multiple stylus, all that means is that with the Clevertouch boards, if you have the pens that can do 2 different colors at either end, then you can activate that, and that will allow those pens to behave in that way on your Clevertouch screen. There's also a network area where you can sort out proxy settings if you need to. And then the other one that I mentioned is the content area. So what I do here is that I will set up some go-to folders. So if on my device there are particular folders like my demo folder or my teacher stuff folder where I get lots of things from, I can add those in. So basically you would just navigate to whichever folder it was. So let's say I needed access to lots of stuff about my house move, I can activate that folder there. Excuse me, screen recorder. So that's added in there now. Now if I realize actually no, I don't want that to be one of my shortcuts, then I can bin it as well. So basically you're just setting up your shortcuts that you're going to have access to when you're inside Lynx. So now that I've done all of that, we can go back to my presentation. So now I'm going to go to the slides here. Okay, so I've shown you how to open up files as well. So we'll go on to the next slide. So let's say we've opened up something and it's come into the background, like this example of a letter here. So we've got various tools down here. First of all, we've got the cursor. Zoom's kind of in the way there, isn't it? But you can just about see we have the cursor option here. So this will help me select things. Then we have pens. Now these two here basically have the same menu of pens. So at the minute I've just chosen a basic pen, so I could start to annotate on here, and I've also got a highlighter so I can highlight some of the text. If I click on one of these, you can see how we can access all the different type of pens. So we have different colors. We also have a slider for the thickness of the pen, so you'll see that this pen is a little bit thicker now than it was. So we have other pens as well. We have a laser pen, so that will just disappear in a moment. Highlighter pens, I've already shown you. We have two types of rainbow pens. Now the rainbow pens are very attractive. I'm sure the children will love them, but you might be thinking as a teacher there's not much point to them. But one nice use of the rainbow pen is to encourage cursive or joined handwriting. So if I start to write on the background, it's bound to start off yellow, I bet. Oh no, there we go. As I'm writing with this pen, if I'm joining up correctly, it won't change colour. However, if my cursive handwriting is a little bit stilted and I keep lifting my pen up, you'll see that it changes colour every time I lift my pen up. So it could be a great pen for encouraging children using the touchscreen to, really practice that joined up handwriting and try to keep each word the same colour. Let's have a look at some of the other pens in here. We can tell that there's more options if we slide across. So here's the handwriting recognition pen. So for this one, I'm going to activate it and I'm just going to click on the pen. So that minimizes. So enough of me saying hello while I'm talking to you, my American cousins. I think it's only fair that I write the word howdy. Let's see what the text recognition makes of that. There we go. It's converted it into Comic Sans, exactly the font that I wanted it to do. Now also in here, we have a shape recognition pen. So when I activate that, if I do a terrible circle somewhere on the screen, it should pick up that I was trying to do a circle and convert it for me. Excellent. And it will also do squares and triangles and rectangles as well, generally. Okay, so if we pop back in here, we also have a math recognition pen. So with the math recognition pen, when I write on the screen, and you'll have to forgive me because I'm using my mouse pad for this. So if I do a very basic sum, I'll wait for the software to kick in. There you go. So it's converted that sum into numerals, and it's also pasted the answer on there. Now you might be thinking, I don't want the answer to appear straight away, and that's fine. If you're using this pen at the end of a session and you want the answer to be displayed, then it works great. If you are doing this in advance, you can always select another type of pen, which I'll show you in a moment, that will create a box that can hide that number that's appeared on the screen. And then you've also got straight line pens and curve pens as well that you can bring onto the screen too. So both of those pens do the same thing. Now, next to that are kind of like other sort of tools that you might find in a virtual pencil case. So one of them is the eraser. So with the eraser, and I can select how wide that eraser area is as well, I can start to rub out. Okay, and be careful because you can even rub out some of the box that you've put up there. Luckily, there is an undo button as well, so you can bring back things if you didn't actually want to do it. But anything that's not in the background layer will be rubbed out when you use the eraser. There's a fill tool. There's also a block highlighter. I really like the block highlighter. I like the thought that you can, show children different color-coded paragraphs using the block highlighter. So I might say, like, this is my opening paragraph for the letter, or this is the setting part of a story, and so on. You've also got crop tools. So let's say I want to crop some features from this letter. So I might want an example of an address. So I basically can crop, and it will paste a copy straight on there. And then if I go over to the cursor, I'll then be able to pick that up and mess around with it using these little nodes and so on. In here, this little blue box is the menu into a few tools that are handy for anything on the screen that you're moving around. So whether you want to delete it or make a duplicate of it, or even arrange it. So for example, I could arrange this by layering it with the other objects on the screen, or I could even send it to the background layer. Now, when I do that, you'll notice that everything kind of fades out on the screen. And also down here, these tiles are kind of highlighted red. So I'm in the background layer now, so I can pick up just that picture there, and I can actually pick up the text as well that I've been scribbling on. So then when I come out of the background layer, I now can't click on that again, although I can click on the original. Also, I wouldn't be able to erase that one now because it's safe in the background. So very often you'll find yourself creating slides where you'll be wanting to put some things in the background so that they're safe when you start to annotate on the rest of it. So also in here, you can crop freehand. So that means, you know, some of the more irregular items that you might put onto the screen, you can crop. Okay, so when I release that, it will crop that and paste that on. Now, when I move that around, you'll see that it does crop everything. So even that little bit of the edge of the letter has come with it. So that's something to bear in mind when you use that tool, but it is a really handy tool. I'm just going to delete that off. Also in here, you have slice. So if let's see if this will work with this address that I selected there. So there we go. So I should be able to slice things as well, the things that I've pasted on. And if we carry on, we've got split, which I'll show you later on, and we've got rectangle. So this is what I was talking about that would help you hide things that you don't want in view. So very easily I can bring in various shapes. We've got a selection of shapes that you can drag on whenever you need them, including arrows as well. Okay, so it's all nice and quick and just there, literally at your fingertips. And then, of course, you've got the text boxes too. So here are my default 3 styles that I selected before. So I can pick a particular style, click somewhere on the screen, and I can start to write. So this is my letter example number 1. Just be careful, because then if you think you're done and you want to click somewhere else, it's still in text box mode. So what I need to do is go back to my cursor. Now that text box is still there, but I can just get rid of it really easily. You know, it just takes a bit of getting used to. So there's all the things that I've added on. Now this text box that I've added on doesn't have a particular background, so I can just slide it all over here. However, if I want to feel as if I'm adding something onto my original piece of text that kind of overwrites what was already there, then you can create things like this. So this is another text box that I made earlier that I can drag on. So let's say I want to change the word tragically there to something totally different. So we'll go with unfortunately. So I'm just going to delete the text that's there and write unfortunately. And unfortunately, it hasn't given it its background that I wanted. So I'm just going to click on that text box, and to get it to behave, I'm going to go to the tools here and just going to select the white background. There we go. So it's put that back on. So more of that later on. I can then resize that so it kind of matches the size of the text that's already over there, and then I'll be able to just drag it on and it will go over the top of what was originally there. So there, obviously I'm only doing one word for the purposes of this, you know, to save a bit of time, but you probably would you know, want to overwrite a whole paragraph or something. So there are ways of doing it so it looks as if you're actually editing your live document. If you're sending out PDFs to students with blank areas for them to type in, of course, there's no issue then. They can just type and it will automatically sit on top of the form or whatever it is, the worksheet that is sitting in the background. So it's, you know, nice and easy to do. Okay, let's move on. Now the content area, which sits underneath the tiles here. This has got some preloaded content that that you're able to use, that Clevertouch have provided you with. So there's all sorts of various things in here, including customizable backgrounds. So if I click on the backgrounds icon, just to show you that again, there it is, backgrounds. So one of the examples is a grid. So I'm going to drag this on. let go of it, and you can see that it's kind of highlighted around the edges. So if I go to the tools area, all the various things that I can do to this background are here. So I could make the lines a bit thicker. I could change the color of those lines as well. There we go. I could also mess around here. It looks like it's the text size, but it's actually the size of the squares. So if you really want those squares to change color, to change size, that's what you would slide around there as well. You've also got the ability to enable a snap, which means anything moving around this grid will kind of formulate itself to the corners of the grid, or you can toggle that off as well. And you can even make it transparent with this slider too, if you want things to really stand out when they're going on over the top of it. When I click off there, that disappears, and it looks like I now can't click on it or make changes to it again, but it's only because it's in the background. If I jump into the background mode, I can click on it and I can carry on making changes to it as much as I want to. So we'll come out of the background layer now. So back to the content here. There's other things in here for you. So there's various sort of images that you can drag on. And if I go back home, we go back to the main menu. There's shapes as well. In the maths area, there's all sorts of maths tools. So things like protractor that you can then mess around with on the touch screen. If I just use my hand on my touch screen behind me, rotate that really easily. You've got various types of compass. You have some dice for probability. You have clocks, they're really good, and rulers as well. Let me just select one of the rulers on there. So with the rulers, I can change how large the ruler is just by using this little slider here as well on the screen. Okay, and we've also got down here a calendar as well that you can bring on, and these are all customizable as you need to use them. So if I bring out the clock as an example, and I go to the tools for the clock, because even all of these have tools and things, I can decide what I want to show. So let's say I don't want seconds on the screen, I just want the hour hand and the minute hand, and I can start the clock, so it just starts to tick away. Let's put the seconds back on there just to show. Now at the minute it's doing the countdown backwards, but let's say that I want it just to show the real time, and then I can jump to that instead. I can stop the clock. Let's get rid of the seconds again, and then I can come in here and move these as much as I need. I can also get the digital time up as well. So it's a really great piece of kit, all those extra maths resources and so on. Let me just delete a few of those off. I'll show you more of those later. So back to the content area. As well as all of this preloaded stuff here, you can see down at the bottom, I've got my own folders that I made those shortcuts to when we went to the settings area. So they are there. This little arrow shows me that I can carry on and go in to some other areas that I made shortcuts to. But also, Lynx gives you this My Content folder. Now, I've been building up my own, and the guys that are developing Lynx like this folder so much they're going to try and put it into Lynx. So eventually all the teachers over here in the UK will have access to this, and it will probably appear in your version as well. But you can tailor this to whatever you need it to be as well. So for example, I've been making some little like window tiles that we can drag out. So if I drag out a verb one here, I can drag this out and use it so that I can sort of highlight different word types using that. So if I get noun here for the word area, area is a noun. So I can drag these out and position them on the screen wherever I need them to be. And then in my maths area, this is where I've really gone to town. So I've got all of the UK coins over here. So you can imagine it'd be quite easy for you to make your own. And I've got various fractions and things too. Let me drag some of these out just to show you an example what you can do. Now, when you want to add to your content area yourself, it's really easy to do. So I've got a folder that I call temporary, and all I have to do if I want something in there, whatever the item is, and I know I've just placed these on here, but let's just pretend I found this and I would like this to be in my content area. I just pick it up and bring it over here, and voila, there it is. It's in my content area. And now whenever I need it, I can just drag out as many copies of that as I want. And here we'll see the little mouse from the Gruffalo later on too, but there he is. You can just drag him out. He's there whenever I need him. And I've even created some just today, in fact, with text box examples. So if I want a text box that will write over the top of things with a white background, then I've made one there ready for me to use, and I can just go in here and change the writing that's in there when I need to. So anything that you create on the screen, you can drag it into your own content area, and it will save it on your device as a resource that you can pull back out whenever you need it. So that's what the content area is all about. I'll just very quickly show you the slides area. So in the slides area, I can go up and down through my presentation to see all of my various slides. If I click on the arrows here, that means that I can pick up one slide and move it around in the order of my presentation. If I click on the stacker menu here, then you can see that I can change my background color. I can delete a page, I can insert pages, I can make a duplicate of a page, and there are also background options. So I can clear the background, or whatever background I've just created, I can apply it to all my existing pages or use it on any new pages as well. Okay, so that's my content area. Now, when you're in Lynx, as well as being able to access all of the content on your device, Lynx doesn't really need you to leave it for you to go and collect other content. So we have search options. So underneath the content, there's a media search tool. So in here, I can search for something. So I've been doing some things with the Gruffalo. I don't know if the Gruffalo is big over there in the States, as big as it is over here. So I can search for videos. So in this stacker menu, I can pick what kind of media I'm searching for. So at the minute, it's on videos. Now, if I drag out the video linked to the Gruffalo onto this page, there it is. Now, what you'll notice at the moment is that it's saying zeros all across the board. And that's because the Lynx developers have just told me today, in fact, that Google have made a change to how YouTube is working on the site, and it's kind of preventing the Lynx Whiteboard from grabbing the videos in the same way it did before. So the developers have faced this before. Every now and then Google make changes, so they're busy sorting it out. But they say they're going to try and sort it out once and for all this time. But when you do have the videos working, what's great about embedding them into a Lynx document is that Lynx strips those videos of adverts, and it won't jump to the next video that could be really inappropriate. And both things are very distracting to pupils. I'm sure you'll agree if that happens to you. It happens to us over here in the UK all the time. So Lynx really takes that headache out of the way. It's just a shame I can't show you that at the moment. However, I can search for images linked to the Gruffalo. So I can basically pull out examples of the Gruffalo and paste him on there. There we go. I can look for GIFs. I've never looked for a Gruffalo GIF before. That's because there aren't any. Let's look for cats, because I definitely know there's a really nice cat GIF that I like to use at this point. Come on, cat GIF. There we go. You won't let me down. So minimize that. And we've also, as well as images, we've also got clip art and Unsplash. Now, Unsplash is a photography studio that has allowed Clevertouch to have all of its catalogue of pictures included royalty free. And they're just a really great selection of quality, high definition pictures. So we just wait for that to load in there. Okay. Using the internet to look for cats. I wonder if I'm the first person that's ever thought of doing that. Right, there we go. So that's the media search, but you've also got a web browser built in too. So with the web browser, it's been rather slow here, my web browser, come on. With the web browser, you don't have to leave links if you want to search, not just for some of this sort of media footage, but you might want to search for some text as well. So just wait for it to load in. There we go. So let me search for something. So I'm going to search for cats, and it's going to come up with Cats the musical. I know as soon as I've agreed. Let me go back there. There we go. So it's searched for Cats for me. It's come up with a musical. Let's say I want this bit of information about Cats the musical. So I can select this text, and then I can just drag it over into my presentation. So it puts it on in a kind of a default way. I can then go to my tools and I can make changes to that. So we can change the size of that text. We can change the font that it's been delivered in, and I can also go into the backgrounds here and remove the background that it came with. So now I've got that text in a much more usable platform, and I can obviously change the shape too. So it's a nice quick way of being able to grab some text, maybe from Wikipedia or wherever you like to search some content for your presentations. Okay, now as you see me a few times going to the tools area to sort out things on the screen, other things that I can do to them when I bring them on is I can prepare them for presentations. So if we start with the Gruffalo here, I'm in the tools section. So what I could do, as well as changing how transparent he is, maybe I want to make him a bit ghostly, or I want to flip him or go full screen with the image. I can also do these three things here, and these are all useful for what we call presentation mode or delivery mode. And so I'll show you those in a moment with my last slide. So let's say that I want to create a nice sort of interactive activity for the children to enjoy. So first of all, I've got a text box at the top here, and we're going to create a Gruffalo scene. We'll stick with the Gruffalo for now. There we go. So I'm now going to go to my media search, and I'm going to search for Gruffalo Woods, and we'll do that in images. Okay, so I like this one here. I'm going to drag this on, and I'm going to stretch it out, and I'm also going to put this into the background. So I'm going to arrange this so it's going to go to my background layer, and then I'll come out of the background layer. So that's there now, that's embedded in. Now I need some characters, so we'll get the Gruffalo himself. So I'm going to search for him again. There he is. Great. So I've got him on there, and I can plonk him into the woods, and we better get his co-star, the mouse. So here's the mouse here. Now let me see. In fact, I might as well actually grab him from my content area as soon as I've got him ready. Seems silly to reinvent the wheel. Here he is. Let's bring him out. Now he's a little bit large, so we can resize him. Now what I really would like to do to these two now is make sure that they can move when we are enjoying the activity. So I'm also going to bring out this 2p coin here for a totally different reason, which I shall show you in a moment, but it's there on the screen nevertheless. Okay, so we've got our two characters and a weird 2p coin. So now I'm going to go to the Gruffalo, and let's go to the tools. So I want him to be editable in delivery mode. So I've just clicked on that, done. I want the mouse to be editable in delivery mode. Perfect. But I might also decide, actually, let's give the Gruffalo a headache. I don't want him to be editable. I want him to replicate in delivery mode, in presentation mode. Okay. And as for this coin here, I want to turn that into a hyperlink. So where do I want it to go? Do I want it to open a file, or do I want it to go to a slide? Let's go for a slide. Let's say we want it to jump us back to our beginning slide there. Okay, okay. So now we need to go to presentation mode. Now where presentation mode lives is in this stacker menu here. So in here I've got various choices. I've got show full screen. I can move the sidebar around if I really want to. I can move it back again as well. I can also in here share my document. So when I click on that there, just to show an example, it's print and share. Here we go. So I can choose how I'd like to print my document, and then when I want to share my document as well, I'll export this into a QR code. So when I want to share it within Lynx Whiteboard itself, it's only really via a link or a QR code. If you want to email it to someone, you need to do it from the Lynx Cloud app, okay, on a Windows or Mac device. Also in here, I can save and choose where I'd like to save my document, to my Lynx Cloud or to my device itself. I always advise save it to your Lynx Cloud because then you can access it from anywhere. And also start presenting. So here we go. So I'm now presenting. And when you first come into presentation mode, the first thing you will do is you'll go to pick up something, and instead you'll look like you've just started scribbling on the screen. And that's because the default in presentation mode is the laser pen. So what you have to remember is to come over to the cursor. That might change because it is one of the things that you know, I've sent feedback to the Lynx developers on and said, look, let's have the cursor as the first thing. Anyway, I can now pick up the Gruffalo and move him around this nice woodland setting. Now the mouse is going to do something different because I put him on a replicator. So now the Gruffalo has a real problem because he's facing an army of mice. Now all of those new mice that I've added on, I can pick those up so they can all attack the Gruffalo. But yeah, from the original mouse, I can pull out as many copies as I like. So that's great for like math counters and things. Sorry, math counters, one of our American differences. And then the hyperlink, when I click on that, will take me back to my first page. So those are the three kind of nice little tools that you can do when you're in presentation mode. So if I jump back here, what you'll notice is on these slides, I can't do anything to anything because I didn't give them a job in delivery mode. Yes, I've got pens. I can start to annotate on here and make lots of notes and things if I want to. But I can't actually pick up any of the things because I didn't give them a job in presentation mode. So if I move on back to this original page, it's just this page where I've got my infinite mice, my movable but terrified Gruffalo, and my coin that jumps back to the beginning. Now, when I want to come out of presentation mode, I can go here and say stop presenting. It will then ask me, do I want to keep the changes I made? Now, normally that answer would be no. So that's what I'll select, because that means now that even though I scribbled on this page here, all those scribbles have gone, and here I don't have all those multiple mice attacking the poor Gruffalo. So those are all the tools and where they live. You've also got the ability to add extra pages very quickly here, as well as the navigator through those pages, and of course the undo buttons and a bin that you can drag things to. But I think it's generally quicker just to click on something and hit your backspace button or delete to get rid of things instead of having to drag them to the bin. It just depends what you prefer. That poor mouse, I'm feeling guilty already. There we go. Now, to show you some of the things that are possible, here are some examples of things that I've made that I show many of the teachers over here in the UK. So, for example, here are some layers of the human body. So if I go into presentation mode, we'll see this working properly. There we go. So I can now drag out these layers of, oops, I've done it again. Drag out these layers of the human body. I can also shrink them down. I can drag these out, different layers of the human body. I can have other shapes that are on like a cloning tool, so we can bring out multiple copies of these whenever we need those as well. Okay, and here I've got my text boxes that I've actually made movable. So I made sure that these are editable in presentation mode. So here you can imagine getting students to come and pick the partition pieces of these numbers and put them into space. In the box at the bottom, I've got some answers waiting that can be revealed whenever you need them to be. So I can just slide those out of the way and put them back if I should want to. Okay, here I've got some sums that I did with the annotation pens. So I used the maths recognition tool to make these sums, and it put the answer onto the screen, and then I just had to hide the answer with these boxes that I can move out of the way there as well. Now, one thing that I didn't show you as well, if I just stop presenting the page for a moment, is that it's very easy to make images like this one here. This here that I'm moving around the screen was actually made from quite a few items all in one go. And the reason I'm able to do that is because if you look on the left, one of the options, if I just scroll up here, is group and ungroup. So if I ungroup now, all of these separate pieces will become apparent. I can even select this one again and ungroup it some more, because even my text there was a separate item. Now, if you want to layer something and create a nice image, and then you want to group them all together, all I've got to do is select them all like that. And then over here, I can just go to group, and now they're back as one item. Okay, so I'll just carry on for a moment. Go back into presenting mode. There we go. So here we've got a video. Now this is an example of the Lynx screen recorder in action in the bottom left. So I basically embedded this file into my presentation. So it's basically showing students how to use the ruler tool that you get with the Clevertouch screen, and then of course I can use the ruler tool myself here. So I've got the joystick so I can move it around. We can put this into position where I want to take a reading from. Use the joystick. Stamp these little nodes here. There we go. I can make a reading and it'll leave the line behind. So the Lynx screen recorder is great. Now, if I just stop my recording, as it processes it, it wants to know what you want to call it, where do you want to save it, and it's an MP4 file. So you can embed it into Lynx, send it to students, put it onto a YouTube channel for your school, whatever you need to do with those presentations. So it's a great way of making little interactive videos that the children will probably pay more attention to than if you're standing there live in front of. Right, so let's cancel that one and let's move on. So again, we've got the compass here, so I can put the compass into position, use the joystick or just use the touch screen to rotate it, and again use these nodes to make a reading. I love the protractor, actually. I'll keep going up compass. I love the protractor because you can really show children what an angle of turn is measuring then. So take your reading, stamp that in there, so the angle will be there. I think there it is. So I think I've arranged that so that's in the foreground, so my angles are hiding behind there. But there we've got my angle, and even that angle can be clicked on and messed around with too. Now with shapes, if I stop presenting, there we go. So with shapes, one of the tools that I mentioned in the pens here is called split. There it is, and it lives with the rectangles and the circles for a reason, because when you click inside a shape with split, you can start to split it up into pizza slices. So I'll let go there. And in rectangles, down will give you rows and across will give you columns. So then it will split the shape for you. So back on the cursor now, I can pick up one of these pieces and I can manipulate it however I want. Even I can go all the way back around again. And here again, I can take out some of these little pieces, or of course, I could select all of them and I could choose that I want to group them all into one again. So whatever it is that you want to do with those as you make them. So you can see I use this as my way of making my own little fraction templates as well. Okay. So here, so you can also make shapes like this and make them movable for activities such as this too. Also, when you're using the media search, you can really go to town and make some really great presentations. So here I found a Tudor pattern and put it into my background. Then I found the Tudor portrait frame and made lots of copies of it. Then I found each of the wives of Henry VIII and combined them grouped them with a text box. So now in this lesson, the students themselves can do the research, and when they've discovered the name of the second wife of Henry VIII, they could come and rush up and place her into her correct spot and so on. And again, for activities like this, where we want to find out what happened to each of Henry VIII's wives, find them in there. Okay. Now, Lynx 6, as I mentioned, does have some features that Lynx Whiteboard currently doesn't. Hopefully that will change, and Lynx Whiteboard, as its roadmap continues to improve it, will have some of these features in. The main ones are the kind of what we call curtain tools that will hide things for you. That's why when you write a sum with a maths pen, it doesn't hide the answers at the minute. There are no curtain facilities in Lynx Whiteboard. The Lynx 6 has got a spotlight tool and a curtain tool, and it also can have dual slide view that you can see on the right there. So you can have any two slides shown on the screen at the same time. I can show you that very briefly in a minute. And then it will also allow you to be able to put one thing on top of another with a transparency slider. In Lynx Whiteboard, you just have to move one layer out of the way of the layer below at the moment, if you're in presentation mode. Now, also in Lynx 6, you get tables that you can bring in with cells that behave in a similar way to Excel. So I could be dragging different gifts into this table here. And then if I drag a different one down into the cell, it will replace the one that was there before. So it's quite nice. And they will still work, even though you might create them in Lynx 6, they will then still work in Lynx Whiteboard, as I'm showing you here. So you'll be able to do things like this. One of the table tools allows you to make sentence strips like this one about the sleek, sly fox. So I've now got word cards that I can drag and replace in the sentence here. So we might say that crept boldly into this. Can you creep in a bold way? Anyway, there we are. So you can, change things over in sentences. So great for languages work. Whatever the language, if you're teaching a foreign language as well, I've made some resources that help out with that. And why not have some fun activities? So you can see here how this isn't just a presentation, this is the actual activity that the students could enjoy doing on the screen as an interactive activity to bring on, to make funny little pictures or whatever it is. Even a brown squiggle such as this here could be on an infinite replica, so you can bring out as many copies of that as you like. And why not use the board for storytelling, like I was showing you with the Gruffalo? Well, here we've got the example of the three bears. Now, because it's a multi-touch screen on the Clevertouch screen, then the children would be able to pick a character each to move around. So I've got Goldilocks here sneaking into the three bears cottage, using the hyperlink onto the next page. So the children can really improve their story fluency. Over here we talk about internalizing the story language. you know, or just you as teachers wanting to improve, you know, what the children are seeing when you're relaying a story to them. So here we've got Baby Bear, who's very paranoid about his chair. Goldilocks is hiding here, and when the three bears go out, she's going to hide behind this table and munch on lots of porridge before bouncing on the bed, jumping out the window and running screaming into the woods. Now, if I just jump to Lynx 6 briefly. So Lynx 6 is the partner software that will only work if you have a Windows device or a MacBook, but it is worth knowing that you've got it. So as I mentioned, these are some of the brief benefits. It looks very different to Lynx Whiteboard, but some of the differences are very easy to get to. So for example, there's the spotlight tool that you can move around, and there's a box where you can tailor that spotlight as well, even with magnification too. So if I was to come back over here, it's magnified the writing even as it's gone over it. There's also the curtain that I mentioned, and again you can tailor that curtain, so I could change the direction of it as well. Let's go left to right. Okay, so there's a couple of tools that are really handy that you've got there. You get those mass recognition boxes I mentioned. You've also got access to the screen recorder directly in Lynx 6. You don't have to launch it as a separate app. Now you've also got remove background. Now I've got this ready here with my old Gruffalo mouse. Now when I drag him on, you'll notice he's got a white background. Now if I click on him and go to the menu option, there's an other options area, and one of them says remove background. So when I do that, that's what it does for you. Now you can't do that in Lynx Whiteboard. So you might be thinking, well, that's a bit annoying because I'd like that within my Lynx Whiteboard program. So let's look up the Gruffalo snake, for example. So there's one. Let's see what that does. There he is. Now that's got a background. So let's get rid of that. Other options, remove background. So there he is. That's exactly how I want him to be. Now, if I go to my content area, I've got my content folder. There's my temporary folder. I can just pick him up, drop him in there. And now when I go back to Lynx Whiteboard and I go to that content area, let's stop presenting for a moment. No, let's jump to the folder with the Gruffalo. So there's my content. Let's scroll down to my content area, temporary. There he is. So although I've created him in Lynx 6, he's now accessible for me over here. So there we are. I can drag him on there into my story now. Okay, back to Lynx 6 very briefly. Dual slide view lives in here. View, dual slide view. Now, I've only got one slide in this presentation, but basically any two slides in my presentation could be on display at the same time. So it's great for differentiation. You should really check that out. And I can just toggle that off again as well. And you've got a full screen option with that dual slide view as well. And you've also got all of the table tools that I mentioned. So sentence tables, and there's a number square and a multiplication grid as well that you can drag in. Also, and that's it really. I'm going to keep Lynx in the background and we'll jump back to Zoom. Zoom. Okay, I'll stop sharing in a moment when I've worked out how to get this back into the full screen view that I want it to be on. I do apologise, Stephanie. I was trying to get Zoom to behave itself. I'll stop sharing. That might help. Okay.
Awesome.
So I hope that was okay for everybody.
I think that was great. You were able to show all of the tools and the features that were available, and also kind of give them some inspiration on the types of lessons that they could create. And then once they create those, how they can share those lessons with their students, as well as other teachers on the same campus or within the same district, or even just a group of teachers that they meet from around the world just by having that email address to create those groups. Gareth, thank you so much for your time today and sharing this with us.
My pleasure.